Hello buddy, Crow back again with another pickup video. I wanted to do a pickups video before I went to the Midwest Gaming Classic. Midwest Gaming Classic is actually 1 week from when I'm filming this, so I kind of want to get all this stuff out of the way, so afterwards if I happen to have picked up some stuff there, I would have like a video dedicated to those pickups. But it was funny, my wife's birthday was actually 2 days ago. It was on Thursday the 3rd. And I figured, and she was taking the day off. I figured I'd take the day off. I'd take the Friday off. So on that day, we actually, took the day off. We hung out together, did whatever, because, otherwise we'd be at work. And then I had Friday off. And Friday, I was going to start making this pickups video. However, in the morning, I woke up. I got up. I, turned my computer on. I went to boot up the video editing software, and because I usually leave my computer on all the time, so I went to load it up. And, the splash screen would come on, but the program would never load. I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay, so I went to Task Manager, kind of shut down the task that it was trying to load, tried it again, didn't work. So I was like, well, maybe I should reboot my computer. So I went to reboot the computer, and the computer was booting up. And I figured, while this is booting up, I'll go play a game of pinball or something like that. So I went and played a game of pinball. After my game was over, I looked over, my computer still hadn't booted yet. It was at the Windows screen. So that's really weird. So I rebooted, tried it again, same deal. Kept trying, having all these difficulties, couldn't get the computer to boot. Finally broke out the Windows disk, tried, to scan the disk, and something was wrong with it. My hard drive had died. It was still reading stuff off of it, but it was just something wherever the Windows systems files were located was not accessing for somewhere. So I figured I'd, it's like, well, I think, that hard drive was really old. It was like maybe even a decade old. So I was like, well, now that hard drive's gone, I'd pick up a solid state hard drive. So I went to Fry's. I was going to go to Fry's anyway. It was by where my eye appointment was. I was just going to walk around, but now I had a purpose. Actually, I bought this. It's not in there. It's in my computer now. I bought a 240 gig solid state hard drive to boot, and then because I got that, I was going to have to reinstall Windows again, so I figured I'd get the most recent version of Windows. So I picked up an OEM copy of Windows 8.1 while I was there, because if you get the full retail version, OEM version, because I bought the hard drive, it's like half as much as if you were to buy the full box retail version, and you don't need the box. You only need the disk and the code, and that's it. So I've got, so I wound up really spent the whole day fixing up my computer with Windows 8.1, and it's actually not too bad if you put on, I put on this program called Start Is Back, and I think there's another thing that does something similar to that, to where when you click on that lower left-hand icon, it brings up the start menu like Windows 7 did, instead of going to the Windows Metro, and yeah, Windows 8.1 is okay if you completely ignore the whole Metro part of it. And it does have a couple things that I do like with the dual monitors. It just, out of the box, has the two different wallpapers. You could do random shifting, and that's what I like. So yeah, so now I'm running Windows 8.1 on there, and everything, I got everything on there. I already did some video editing on there, so yeah, not too bad. I took a day out of my vacation, my 4-day weekend, because my computer crapped out, and now I'm here doing this pickups video. So let's start with the actual real pickups. First thing we got here, this is not really necessarily in the order I picked these up. These are just an order of what. Most of this is PlayStation stuff. In fact, every game except for one of them is a PlayStation 1, 2, or 3 game. And here is the one PlayStation 1 game. We got N2O, Nitrous Oxide. Now, the reason I picked this up, I got this on eBay. I won it for $1.99. And the reason I looked for this is because Classic Game Room did a review on it, and I really liked the way it looked. The tunnel runner, psychedelic graphics, this whole surreal, the whole surreal thing, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Tempest X3, and I just like those real surreal hypnotic type games. Music by the Crystal Method in here, and I like them. I like their music, and it really fits well in this type of game. You're just kind of going down the tunnels, shooting stuff. Played this for maybe 20 minutes. Yeah, good time. Good times in there. So yeah, N2O, nitrous oxide. I really liked it. I wonder why I didn't never really picked it up in the past. It's one of those games I never really knew much about, I guess. Kind of flew under my radar. But now, Classic Game Room, put it back on my radar, and I just kind of did a quick search on eBay. Hey, $2. Buy it now. You know what? I take that back. It wasn't buy it now. It was an auction for $1.99. And I actually won the auction because nobody else bid on it. Okay, next thing we got here is I wound up at a... You're going to be waiting a while. It was at a play and trade in Melrose Park. Somebody who will rename nameless picked up some like Japanese Famicom, Super Famicom games there. You know, he won't remain nameless. It was Technomancer 1. He said that that's where he picked up those games. So I went there. I didn't see anything like that, but I did pick up 4 PS2 games. Because I think it was... No, actually, take that back. 3 PS2 games. It was like buy 2, get 1 free. So I picked up... first one I saw was Disney Golf. I kind of picked this up because I like golf games. Kind of like Hot Shots Golf. I kind of wanted to compare it to that. I like the themed golf games. Like, you had the Mario Golf. And then I like, you know, to me, Hot Shots Golf is the standard for these type of golf games. So I was really curious to check out Disney Golf. It really doesn't. It is kind of aimed towards kids, as it should be. But, you know, just the physics, something about the physics and control seems a little bit off. Sometimes the ball didn't really seem to behave realistically. But you know what? It was complete. It looked really nice, and it was $4.99. So I didn't pass it up. I picked it up. If you wanted to say it was free because these other ones I was more interested in. Then I picked up... I got these Post-it notes so I remember how much I paid for them when I put them in the database. Picked up this one that looked interesting. Again, $4.99. Kuro Q. Kind of like a really cartoony racing game. Kind of got a RPG feel to it. Only played it a little bit, but you have to play in the RPG world to get items and stuff like that to upgrade your car before you become very competitive. But it kind of reminded me of a penny racer deal, and I think this is a series that has been going on for a long time, and I really am unfamiliar with it. So I kind of wanted to jump in there. It looked like a really cool game. I like the cover. Yeah, but, you know, just driving it first, the car was very sluggish. I didn't like the overworld town. I was like, oh, where am I supposed to go? I kept driving around the overworld town, bumping into cars that were talking to me. By the way, I found it was real interesting that the cars are like people in this game. They come out of their houses and they bump into other, you know, you bump and talk to other cars. There's other cars in buildings that talk to you. So that's very interesting. And I like how the cars are like super deformed, almost like they're penny racers. I like that. I don't know if I'll get too into this, you know, just because it is an older game. But who knows? Maybe one day in the future I'll be like, hey, you know what? Let me try and play this game a bit, and I'll put some time and effort into it, and really decide whether or not I really like this game or not. Otherwise, it's going to stay in my collection. The last game I picked up at that play and trade was this, Psychonauts, a game that a lot of people who've played it said, hey, this is a really great game, but unfortunately didn't do that good. Whenever you hear about a title being really good but not selling really well, this is one of the titles that comes up. So I saw it and I was like, hey, this is in great condition. You know, the box and, you know, the manual and the game are in great condition. I'm going to pick this up, and I tried it out. Yeah, it's a really top-notch PS2 game. I wonder what year this came out in. Well, 2005. So yeah, we're getting kind of into the end of the PS2 era. People were looking forward to the PS3 at this time. Xbox 360 may have been out when this came out. Actually, I think this was out on the Xbox as well, the original Xbox. I'm not so sure about the GameCube, though. But yeah, it's got a really good story, really good gameplay. It's got some really good... when you play it, it's a really good atmosphere. You can really get into the game. And it's, like I said, the story is there to, if anything, the story is going to make you want to play the game even more. In fact, I'm kind of curious to see what happens in the game, and I might have to pop this in. I don't know when. So many games I have to play. I'll get some time once I finally get my database updated. and you know, my whole selling games project is done with and everything. But again, that'll be on my collection for, it'll probably be in my collection for many years before I might have a chance to play it again. Anyway, moving on. After that play and trade, I went to a video games, etc., the place that's by my mom's house, and I walked around, didn't see anything too interesting, but I did pick up, there was a couple things I almost picked up, but then I couldn't remember if I actually had them or not because, again, my database is in disarray. So I only wound up picking up one thing, and it was a game I knew I didn't have, and that's Street Fighter Alpha Street Fighter Alpha Anthology, and this actually has 5 games in it. It has Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, which was previously released on the PS1 as Pocket Fighter. And the fact that it says that here, released on consoles as Pocket Fighter. Actually, I would say that the Street Fighter Alpha series is maybe my favorite Street Fighter series. I know 4 is really good, but I like it more than 3, and obviously more than 2. I just like the whole cartoony aspect of it, really great animations and everything. In fact, Alpha 2 Gold was one of the games I played probably the most, but I'm really out of practice in this, especially when I was playing the footage, capturing the footage, and I was using a regular PS2 controller. But yeah, I had to get it. It was, you know, really good condition, and this game really doesn't, it's not super cheap. The game really hasn't dropped to a super cheap price, so I wound up paying $17.99 for it. But I think it's worth it. These are the best, some of the best Street Fighter games in the series. I really, like, again, I have Alpha 3 on the PS1, Alpha 2's on the PS, actually all of these are on the PS1, but what's great about this is on the PS2, you don't really have so much of the loading times or anything that you do have with the PS1. So these are really better versions than those. But I'm probably going to keep them all just because I like them all. You know, memories with the PS1, and then this one because just because they are the better versions. Without, you know, I mean, I suppose you could get name and everything, but still, I like having the box, the artwork, and the manual and everything. Alright, moving on to the PS3. This is a game I actually got for free. My wife, in my last video, this is my last pickups video, but it was my last Crow Extra video. I showed off that my wife had gotten the Yoshi 3DS XL. Well, she got it from Toys R Us because Toys R Us had a deal to where if you bought that, you got a $20 or less game for free. And she didn't really want anything, so she was kind of reading off the list of games that were $20 or less on their website, because she ordered it off their website. And this one popped up, and I was like, hey, you know what? I was going to get that one eventually. Yeah, get that one. And that is the Batman Arkham City Game of the Year Edition. Now, I did play all the way through Arkham Asylum Game of the Year Edition, so I knew I was going to have to get this and play this eventually. Did play a little bit of it, like maybe 30 minutes of it, just to get some footage, and it does seem like a slightly more well-polished game. I like, you know, jumping in and you fight all the guys, and then there's a little bit of the detective work that I've done so far. I like how the story starts off. So, oh man, there's so many games to play. I don't know where I'm going to fit this in my schedule at all. And I really haven't been playing anything recently to begin with. But again, this came with, I wanted to get the Game of the Year edition, the greatest hits version, because it has the bonus content that they were selling as DLC. It comes with in the Game of the Year edition, and I think there's going to be like a trend going forward as for games that are being sold on disc. Because what they're doing is they're selling the game on disc, then they're selling the DLC separately, and then they're coming out with the Game of the Year edition that has the DLC on it. So it might be in the future that the Game of the Year editions or the greatest hits editions are more sought after than the original Black Label versions, like with PS2 and PS1 games. So it's kind of like a switch around, because now when I look for a PS1 game, it's more sought after to have the Black Label version than the greatest hits version. But if the greatest hits version actually has more content than the Black Label version, then I think that these will be more sought after than the Black Label versions. Just my thoughts on that. So yeah, glad to finally get that. Next is a game I kind of was curious about. Really didn't know much about it first. I saw it at Fry's, $30. This is the limited edition. I think it's called the limited edition. I really say, but it is this by the same people who made No More Heroes and Lollipop Chainsaw, whatever that game is called, the Chainsaw and the Lollipop. Its killer is dead. So I really didn't know anything about it other than it was made by the same people. Pseudo 51 Studios, I guess, did the same writing. I was blown away. I played like 45 minutes of this game just earlier today. Really, really liking where the story is going. It's like if you're playing No More Heroes, but with a darker tone to it. And I like how they just throw you in this world where people have cybernetic implants and, just weird-ass stuff is going on, and you're just supposed to take that stuff at face value and just accept it and just follow the story. It's really great. It's like, hey, your sword makes you stronger when you cut enemies, and you get blood from your enemies. It makes your arm and your sword stronger. And you're like, all right, so there you go. But then I got the limited edition. That also has the art book and the soundtrack, and I was like, for $30, that's a really good deal at Fry's. In fact, I saw this for the Xbox 360 at Play and Trade just earlier today for $20, and I'm wondering, it's like, why are people buying these up? This is a really good game. What was I going to say about this? I don't remember. But yeah, I really, really highly recommend this, especially if you like games like No More Heroes. It's a shame that people aren't buying. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was like, when I saw this at the Fry's Electronics, this was the only copy of the game that was sitting on the shelf. And I was like, oh, I better snatch it up before somebody else does. So it's like, wow, this is the last one, so such a great deal, I'm going to buy it. And then like a week later, I went back to the Fry's, and there was another copy on the shelf. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I didn't really get their last copy. And then I was there, like, just yesterday, and they had 5 copies on the shelf. I'm like, what is going on? That was kind of weird. It's like the more copies are bought, the more wind up on the shelves. Get this game, really. If you like No More Heroes, and this has got a darker tone to it, I really like this. I was, like, really into it. I'm going to move on to last PlayStation 3 game. This game I technically got for free. This is South Park Stick of Truth, game I was looking for about a year. I was looking for it to come out when it was supposed to come out last year. Then it got canceled. Then it got uncanceled, I suppose. And now it's out, and it is fabulous. It is a great game. It looks just like the cartoon. I especially like how you create your own character at the beginning. I like the in-jokes. I only played this for like 20 to 30 minutes. I like the gameplay. It plays a lot like... so I really only played like the tutorial levels, but it plays like a Paper Mario game. Or one of those Mario games on the handhelds, like Superstar Saga or Bowser's Inside Story. It plays like that, but with South Park. It's awesome. If you like South Park, you really owe it. If you like South Park and you like Paper Mario, you owe it yourself to get this game. Now, the reason I say I got this for free is because I had my eye surgery, my LASIK vision correction, and my wife's mom, I guess it would be my mother-in-law, likes to buy presents for people if they're sick. So she considered that being sick, so she gave me the money and said, yeah, go buy this game. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue with that. Otherwise, I probably would have waited for this to drop in price. But I think, I'll put my Post-it note there. I think what I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to play this with my wife at night. So we'll play that together because it's hilarious. So we both like South Park. All right, last game here was a game I bought on eBay. I don't know what it was, but I was at work. And it just kind of started humming this tune in my head. It was like, dum ba ba boom ba ba boom bum ba bum ba da da. I'm like, what is that song? I'm like, oh, that is that song. Oh, the theme song from Arkham on the Commodore 64 that I used to play. So I started looking up to see if there was somebody selling Arkham on for the Commodore 64 on eBay, and nobody was. But what I did see was another game I had completely forgotten about that I used to have on the Commodore 64, and that is Miniputt. Got this game, paid, I think it was a buy it now price, and they originally were asking like $25 for it, but they had marked their selling point down to like $14, and the sale had like 1 day left to go. Shipping wasn't that much, so like overall I wound up paying like $17 for it. And I was kind of taking a risk too, because they didn't really give too much information about this. They said the game was untested. And I'm like, well, as long as it has the disc and the box, there's no manual in here. It really does. It doesn't even have a disc sleeve, so I'll have to find a disc sleeve for this. But yeah, I put it in. It worked, and the game is a lot more fun than I remember. Actually, it held for a Commodore 64 game. It holds up really good. And the other thing that I was surprised about with this, the loading times are very, very short for a Commodore 64 game. Between holes, it does load up, but it like loads for like literally 5 to 10 seconds each. You're in each hole like right away, and even the start of the game loading up really didn't seem to take that long for a Commodore 64 game. I didn't time it, but it was well under a minute, maybe even 30 seconds. So yeah, what I find weird is like when you load the game, you start it up on the front side, you start it up, it plays a little theme song, there's a title screen, like, oh, you want to play golf? Then flip the disc to side 2. What's on side 1? I don't know. Anyway, that is Miniputt. Oh, what I forgot to mention was there was some extra stuff in this Miniputt box, but these things have nothing to do with that. In fact, the one thing here is it came in, there was a poster for Rad Racer 2 for the NES, so I thought that was kind of weird. But even weirder, there was an instruction manual for Mario Hunt and Duck Hunt, and really good condition, and I'm like really happy this was in here, because I remember looking at this book when we originally had the NES, and I'm kind of glad I got it back, because it's like, look at this, halfway through the book, shh, Super Mario Brothers secret tips. What does he say? Shh, don't tell anybody. I think that was hilarious, and it kind of tells you like a little bit how to get actually. That's like the end of the Mario Brothers. It's like tells you how to get the one-ups. Domino effects, just stuff that everybody takes for granted now, but early nobody knew back then. So yeah, that's all the games. I do have one game accessory, and that is this Namco Jog-Con. I'm not going to say anything to you. And what happened was I was going through my PlayStation games, putting them into the database. And on the back of the cases, you see, for example, here it says, hey, 1 to 2 players, memory card, and, analog controller compatible. This is N2O. And I was on Breakout, and had a little thing there. It's like, oh, this is compatible with the controller, and then it gave a code name for a controller. I was like, that's really weird. Let me look up that code. And I looked it up, and it was this Joy-Con controller. I was like, really? I really didn't know. I kind of vaguely knew about this controller, but I'd forgotten all about it. It's a like a paddle-like controller in the middle of this. It's not compatible with a whole lot of games, from what I understand, but it let you play Breakout on the PS1 with like a paddle controller, and I thought that was awesome. So I paid like $15 for this. This was the cheapest one I saw on eBay. No box or anything, and packing job actually wasn't that great on this. This guy threw it in a box and didn't pad it, so it was like rattling around the whole box. But it got to me safely. I mean, it didn't ship too far, but put some padding around some stuff. The rule of thumb with boxing up stuff is the box shouldn't rattle when you shake it. It's the major rule. This thing was just laying around in the box. Like, I shook the box, I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound like there's any padding in there. But yeah, I tried it with some other games. Like, I tried it with the N2O. It would have seemed like it would have been awesome for that to go around with the dial, but it didn't work. I really wanted it to work with Tempest X3, but it didn't work with that. But supposedly this will work with Ridge Racer 4 or R4. I don't know what exactly the title is at, so I'm going to be looking for that game. I'll try it with that game. I know it works with some PS2 games too, but I don't really remember those off bat. Kind of just bought it for Breakout because I thought that would be awesome to have for the PS2 or for the PS1 to have an actual dial controller like that. So yeah, that is all the games. So if you're only interested in video game stuff, this is your exit point. I'm going to move on to some movies now. First things first, I got my Mystery Science Theater 3000 Volume 29. This came with Untamed Youth, Hercules and the Captive Women, The Thing That Couldn't Die, and possibly the best episode on this, The Puma Man. Really a thing about Untamed Youth. It's a season 1 episode, but I kind of like the movie for what the movie is. It has a plot, it has a resolution, and nothing too goofy goes on to it, other than that it's a musical of sorts. But yeah, it comes with the little mini posters and bonus features and whatnot. And I've already pre-ordered Volume 30 off of Shout Factory. I actually got this off of Amazon. I guess I pre-ordered it off of Amazon for like $49.99, and I guess at one point during my pre-order it dropped all the way down to $41.99, but then the price went back up to $49.99. So they actually refunded me $8 when I don't know why they had to refund me, because it's like they forgot that because when I guess what happened was they sold it when it became available. They took the money out of my account and they were like, oh, this was actually $8 cheaper during your pre-order. Here's $8 back. So it's kind of weird. So yeah, Mystery Science Theater Volume 29. Next up, this was pretty cheap. I actually can't remember where I bought this. I think, man, where did I buy this? I think it looks like I may have bought it at Walmart. And that was Grand Lantern Extended Cut. Can't remember exactly the price I paid for it. It's probably somewhere between $5 and $10, but it seemed like the right price point for this movie. I saw it in theaters. It was okay. So I like superhero movies, so I figured I'd add this one to the collection. Kind of wondering what the extended cut is all about. What did they cut out of the theaters? Maybe it would have made it a better movie. I don't know. I'm not a real big Green Lantern fan, but I do like superhero movies. Next up, Men in Black 3. Now I know the price on this one says $20.99, but it was actually like $9.99. It was on sale at Fry's, so that's why I picked it up. I have the first 2 Men in Black movies on Blu-ray, so I figure I might as well pick up the third. So yeah, that's really all there is to that one, Men in Black 3. It may not be the best movie. I do like the villain in that movie, though. I like the way... I like the villain in the movie. I kind of like the time-traveling aspect. Again, I keep seeing things as like, oh yeah, this movie with the time-traveling kind of destroyed the whole... I don't know what you would call it. It created all these plot holes in the whole series, but who cares? I don't really care. It was just a movie. Next up, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I remember I was on my lunch break and I was at Target. The lunch break from work. Sometimes I go to Target to get some food for lunch, and I kind of wandered in the DVD section, and Mortal Kombat Annihilation was there for $5. So I picked it up, and I picked it up because I know this is a horrible movie, but still I kind of like it. Every time I watch it, I cringe, but like, to me, there always seems to be like, oh, there was somebody on staff that knew how this movie should have been. Because there's just certain parts of the movie where I go, yeah, that makes sense to me. That's what should happen. And then really goofy things happen. Like they're like, oh, animalities, and have Luke Kane transform into a really bad CG dragon. Or whatever. Not even like the one from the arcade. So it didn't make any sense. Yeah, whatever. I want to find the original Mortal Kombat on Blu-ray, I guess, eventually. I never even did get the original Mortal Kombat on DVD, but I always find Annihilation. I don't find the original. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I still kind of like this. Yes, I know it's a bad movie. Funny thing about this is when I went and checked out, the guy who checked me out was like, oh man, this movie's a flop. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I kind of like it. And then he was like, what, you gonna resell this movie? I'm like, no, I just like the movie, I'm keeping it. He's like, you gonna put it on eBay? I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep the movie. Finally, last movie, we got the Hunger Games. This is the original Hunger Games. It's not catching fire. This is in Blu-ray 3-disc deluxe set. My wife really likes the Hunger Game movies. We had Hunger Games on DVD, I think. I'm pretty sure, but we didn't have it on Blu-ray, so I figured I picked this up. It came out the same time that Catching Fire did. And yeah, we did pick up Catching Fire on Blu-ray, DVD and Blu-ray. I just don't have it with me, so pretend I'm holding it. I completely forgot about it. Because my wife is actually watching that upstairs. Not right now, but she did. But so it's upstairs. It's really her movie anyway. But I picked this up just so we'd have the first one on Blu-ray, and it's a 3-disc set exclusively from Target. I believe it was like around 15 bucks. So price wasn't too bad, so I picked it up. That's everything, and maybe see you at the Midwest Gaming Classic next week. Maybe not. Thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye.